Today I presented on this concept of frugal innovation, and frugal innovation is essentially the ability to create greater value at minimal cost. And this is a new paradigm that is developing not only in emerging markets, where we see essentially due to the resource constraints, entrepreneurs are coming up with very frugal solutions to deal with the shortage of healthcare, energy or education services. But this is becoming also a new need of the hour in the Western world as well, especially here in Europe, which is undergoing a major economic crisis, where companies have to really learn to create affordable and sustainable solutions that cost very little for consumers, who are becoming not only cost conscious but also more environmentally aware. The inspiration for affordable solutions is coming from emerging markets. Like, for example, in India, the group, Tata Group, actually has launched this $2,000 car. So what's happening is that emerging markets are showing the way for how you can do more with less, which is essentially produce solutions that bring more value to customers at the lower cost, and also by minimizing natural resources. So indeed, the Western companies who are increasingly dependent on emerging markets are learning these best practices to do more with less, and many of these best practices are now being reapplied in more mature economies as well. So the term Jugaad essentially is like rekindling the kind of MacGyver spirit in your company, right? So the MacGyver for me is the epitome of this improvisational ability to turn adversity into an opportunity for creating value. And I think essentially the large companies can do that in two ways. One is in a very top-down fashion. So this is essentially Renault or Unilever, where the CEO says, if you don't change, we won't exist in 10 years. So that's one way of driving change, very top-down. Another approach is something that companies like General Electric are undertaking, which is, I call it a bottom-up, outside-in approach, where you try to bring in a fresh perspective from the outside by partnering with nimble startups to begin to show to the dominant culture inside how they can be nimble, agile, and frugal by looking at outside world like startups and learn from them. America has in its DNA this Yankee ingenuity. It's just being kind of muffled or kind of hidden right now by these layers of processes that are kind of straitjacketing corporations. If we can loosen them up a bit, I'm sure that this very latent creativity in the American society will bubble up, and you begin to see that. You see more and more young entrepreneurs in America trying to launch companies that promise to disrupt all these incumbents in the more mature industries. So I think we are seeing everything come full circle in America right now. But Europe, I think, is a bit ahead of the curve, simply because the sense of urgency is stronger here. Here the economic situation is extremely morose, the social situation is not any better. So I think here it's more about innovate or die kind of situation, whereas in America, economic situation is a bit better. So innovation is still seen a bit as a luxury rather than a necessity right now. The best frugal innovation I've seen that really touched my heart is this product called Embrace. It's actually a portable infant warmer that saves the lives of thousands of premature babies. Today, when premature babies are born, we put them in these incubators that cost about $20,000 and require a lot of electricity to operate. But more importantly, in these traditional incubators, the problem is that the mother cannot really hold the baby against her, which is a big kind of increase, big guarantee of the survival of the kid. So this solution essentially begins with the basic need that the mother has to be able to hold the premature baby against her chest. So they invented this. It looks like a mini sleeping bag, as you can see, and it has this wax-like material inside that you can drop in a boiling water, because in many villages in Africa, India, they don't have electricity. So you just drop this on boiling water and it melts. You reinsert it into this device, and then you can keep the baby warm at constant temperature for 6 hours. And the kicker is this product costs only $200. So 1% of the products sold in the Western world. I think the one thing I want people to take away from the presentation is that, to innovate, you don't need big R&D budgets. You can innovate on a shoestring. It just takes one thing, which is to rekindle the MacGyver spirit in you. And if you have kids, I would say just look at your kids. They are the best innovators. They are able to innovate with nothing, right? And they just apply the creativity. So I think as adults, I'm addressing to adults here, but I think as adults we tend to lose that kind of kid-like spirit in us. And in a way, what I notice in emerging markets is that all these entrepreneurs are actually like kids. They kind of have a sense of wonderment and the sense of pleasure in trying to change the world. So I think essentially the takeaway would be like be bold, and you can change the world even on a shoestring.